So, hello, my name is Skye.
I'm Kyler.
And
We should probably restart that, otherwise that's really loud.
Milo, stop it. Hi, I'm Skye.
I'm Kyler.
And this is Histories, Mysteries, and Conspiracies. Today, I am talking about the unsolved mystery of spontaneous human combustion. How much do you know about spontaneous human combustion, Kyler?
It's when you spontaneously combust.
Great. Awesome.
And I'm just gonna take a shot. Aliens.
Potentially.
Neat.
So, I'm going to give you a few cases of spontaneous human combustion to start.
Actually, now that I think about it, this might sound crazy, and I know nothing about this topic. I think it has to do with static. A fuck ton of static electricity just on your person. Boom.
It could be. So,
or aliens.
Or aliens. Always aliens as an option. So, some of these cases. So, here's a few of them. These are all from mentalfloss.com. One of them is Henry Thomas, who was 73 years old at the time this happened he died. So, 73 years old when he died, from South Wales. And this was in 1980. And he was sitting in his chair, in an easy chair, and he somehow caught fire near the top of his head and burned to death. All that was left of him were like his legs below the knee and his skull, but his feet that were left were completely unburned. And whatever like clothes were on it, like socks and stuff, those were fine too. It looked like they were not touched by the fire.
You said his skull was there, but the fire started on his head?
That's what I thought too. Yeah, that's weird. But yes, you have that right. Now, there's supposedly evidence of a fire in the fireplace, but it says that there wasn't anything that showed that it spread from there. So some people just say that he was maybe like stoking the fireplace and his hair caught on fire as he was like bending it in the fireplace, but didn't realize it at first.
Where's the rest of his body?
Burned, ash. That was one of them. Another one is, this was 13 years before, Robert Francis Bailey. And for him, people who were waiting for the bus saw like inside of this building, they saw that there was a fire, so they went inside to check it out, and they called the police, who checked it out. And Robert Bailey was a homeless man, and what they found him on fire, and he had a blue flame coming out of a 4-inch slit in his abdomen, and they put a hose in his abdomen and extinguished the fire that way. Now, for him, they couldn't find any means of ignition, and like he didn't have a cigarette or anything else on him, or matches or anything like that. However, he was a known alcoholic.
I was gonna say, it sounds like he just poured alcohol into a wound.
And he had and the thing is too, he was known to drink denatured alcohol, which is like, it doesn't have any beverage properties to it. It's often used to ignite fires while camping or remove stains.
So what I'm gathering here is that all these cases of spontaneous human combustion are all bullshit.
We'll get there.
Okay.
So another one is Mary Reeser. This is from Florida, 1951. And her landlady just showed up at her house, and she said she touched a doorknob and it was hot, so she called the police. And what they found was, it was just like the first guy. So she had part of her foot remaining, including her slippers. Her skull remained as well, but some people say that the skull actually had shrunk. But what they found was that she had taken sleeping pills before. So what they think is that she inadvertently set herself on fire with her cigarette after the pills had taken effect. So she was like knocked out, and the fire did not bother her. There are some theories that she was actually murdered, and somebody just like went through this elaborate scheme to make it look like she had been spontaneously combusted, I guess.
I feel like if you're gonna murder somebody, there's a lot more ways to kind of get yourself off than, especially because spontaneous human combustion isn't like a very common thing. I feel like if you choose that route of cover up, you're putting too much thought into it.
And that was in the 50s anyway, so it was a time when the crime solving stuff wasn't as great as it is now. So another person, this was John Irving Bentley in 1966, and the meter reader showed up, and what they found was that he was just a pile of ashes except for his leg. And he noticed the meter reader, noticed a weird odor and saw some blue smoke when he found Bentley. So at first they thought that the elderly man set himself on fire with his pipe, but his pipe wasn't found by him at all. So like he was in the bathroom. He was found in the bathroom. The pipe was in his bedroom. So what they think happened was that he may have accidentally set himself on fire with his pipe and then ran to the bathroom to like extinguish himself because they found something that was deformed near him. They think may have been a pitcher of water, but they don't know for sure. Also, he had a smoldering robe that was there with a hole but burned through it. So, which is where he was known to keep his matches. So the matches could have helped with that.
That seems like... I don't know. I feel like if I caught myself on fire with a pipe or a cigarette or something like that, that it wouldn't leave only my feet.
Well, we'll get to that.
You know what I'm saying?
So another one is Jeannie Saffin. She was 61 years old when it happened. I don't have the year that this happened, but her father actually witnessed it. So they were in the kitchen and he turned to look at her. Well, he saw something out of the corner of his eye, and then when he turned to look at her, she was on fire. He said that she did not move, like she literally just sat with her hands in her lap and she was fine. He brought her over to the sink, extinguished the fire, but she was super burned in her hands, her face, and her abdomen. And her skin was burned down to the subcutaneous fat. So she died a few days later, and her combustion, they can't really explain. One of the attempts is that her father's pipe, like a speck of it, had made fallen onto her clothing, and then the wind from the window may have made that combust, I guess, or ignite. That's the better word. And the last one I have here is George Mott of New York, and he was enjoying an episode of The Twilight Zone the day before, and he literally said, "Man, I wish something crazy like that would happen to me." And then, next day they found him. They found a little bit of his bones and ash. Now, for him, he wasn't a smoker, so that smoking thing wasn't probably there, and he was actually a retired fireman. So his is a little bit more interesting. Okay, so now here are some more of the details, the science behind all these ideas, and these are from livescience.com and also allthat'sinteresting.com. So the first case of spontaneous human combustion was actually in the 1400s by this knight named Polonius Vorstius. And he just apparently burst into flames in front of his own parents. And that's all I know about that one. And there's actually a recent one in 2011 the man's name was Michael Faraday, and he was an Irishman living alone, and he just spontaneously combusted. Like the coroner said, he spontaneously combusted, but they did find his body a few feet away from an open fireplace that had been recently used. Okay, so the term spontaneous human combustion was coined in 1744 by Paul Rowley, who was a fellow of London's Royal Society. And it was an article called Philosophical Transactions. He described it as a process in which a human body allegedly catches fire as a result of heat generated by an internal chemical activity, but without evidence of an external source of ignition.
I like the word allegedly.
I know. I was like, I like how allegedly is in the definition.
Like, nothing spells confidence in a thing existing when it doesn't have allegedly in its name.
Now, this topic was also covered by British Medical Journal in 1938, and there was an article by L.A. Perry, which actually cited a 1823 published book, Medical Jurisprudence. And this article in the book talk about the commonalities between all of these cases. So these are things that have in common, that the victims are usually chronic alcoholics. They are usually elderly females. The body has not burned spontaneously, but some lighted substance has come into contact with it, such as like a fireplace, cigarette, matches, etc. The hands and the feet usually fall off, not burned. The fire has caused very little damage to combustible things in contact with the body. Oh yeah, that's another thing. So like the clothing that's on the feet that aren't burned. Or if there's furniture around, it's not burned. Though a lot of cases say that the ceiling above and the floor below were also burned. And the last one is, the combustion of the body has left a residue of greasy and fetid ashes, which smells super bad.
So, I suppose that they're so badly alcoholics that their body is just basically a wet rag that you'd use in a Molotov cocktail. To where when they get close to an ignition source, they just go up in flame. Poof.
Basically. You're on the right track with that one. Now, some of the explanations for it are, like you said, that they're such big drunkards that the alcohol saturated their cells. And in the 70s, there was a quasi-Freudian explanation which suggested that a person's depressive emotional states could somehow cause them to become inflamed. So it's like you're so upset that you just catch on fire.
Yeah, that seems fake.
Yeah, that one I feel like is one of the... I feel like I would believe spontaneous combustion just because your cells are soaked with alcohol over you just felt like it.
Well, I feel like because there appears to have been an ignition source in all of those cases. So I feel like if they are down to a molecular level, basically a soaked rag, then getting in contact with that ignition source would make sense. Like, it's not spontaneous human combustion. It may seem spontaneous, but it's because of an outside source.
And there's also like none of them have real witnesses, like where they actually saw it.
I was thinking about that as well.
Yeah,
it's interesting that they all have the leg left though.
Now, other theories that are not quite solid include sunspots, cosmic storms, gas-producing intestinal bacteria, or even a buildup of the body's supposed vibrational energy. So here's some more of these solid explanations, which
static.
Yeah, not brought up ever actually.
Because you know how you get...
At least not in any of the articles I read.
You know how you get super staticky and then you like touch something and they shock them?
Yeah.
And then if you do that in the dark, you can see the little spark?
I'm aware of it.
Yeah, you know that weird thing that happens? That could be the source of ignition. Hot and spicy McChickens, you know?
Maybe.
Static is weird.
Static is weird. I'm not an expert on that, so don't take anything I say for fact. Okay, so here's some better explanations. So the thing about fires...
I'm pretty sure statisticians would...
Statisticians?
Would agree with us that static is weird.
Probably. I hope so. Okay, so explanations. Let's try it again. So the thing about fires is that they're self-limiting and die out naturally upon running out of fuel, not film. So... just know that, so that's kind of explains like why not everything around them burned. So
well, it doesn't explain it because that by definition the fire should have just continued on to the stuff around
it should have continued to the legs, but that's why like when people are like, well, there's a furniture right next to it that wasn't burned, and it's like, well, it would have had to get to that somehow through something direct, and it may have not been able to catch. So there's things like that, like it's like when you're trying to make a fire when you're camping, and like you get the what's it called? I should know these, like the kindling burnt, but you can't get the logs on fire. It's kind of like that.
Seems unrelated.
What? It's what? Okay, whatever. Now, there is also this rare medical condition called Stevens-Johnson syndrome that in extreme cases may be mistaken for a case of aborted spontaneous combustion. So it actually... what it does is it triggers a toxic reaction to certain medications, including antibiotics, painkillers, and it can create the appearance of burns and blisters, and it can be fatal. So some people say that, but it's also like, well, these bodies were ash, so that doesn't make sense. Now, the theory, this is probably what it is called the wick effect. And so how do candles work? Don't read my notes. How do candles work?
They have a wick in them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, so candles use wax. It's a flammable wax material which keeps the wick burning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you apply it to humans, the wick says that humans are an inside-out candle. So their wick itself are the clothes, while the human's fat is the flammable substance. And then the human eventually burns itself out. That's why, like, the legs and stuff and the extremities don't catch, is because they don't really have, at least, like, the calves and stuff, because they don't have the same fat that the torso does. But, like, the thighs are gone, too. Cause those
Same with the skull.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ain't got a fat head.
So, what are your thoughts?
You didn't fucking mention aliens once.
Oh, sorry. Also, aliens. There you go. They weren't on any of the theories. I would have had to create my own theory of aliens.
You said that we would get there.
Well, what I meant was aliens are always an option.
You bamboozler.
I slightly bamboozled.
I'm thwarted, and I will never be on this show again.
Is the right word.
I'm putting my foot down.
You're sitting.
Fuck off.
You're sitting Indian style.
That is
crisscross applesauce.
That is an irrelevant detail.
Well, I mean, if you're sitting in a chair, you could kind of put your foot down, like, onto the floor, but don't kick the microphone. So you think it's aliens?
I think it's fucking static. I told you.
Okay. Yeah, you're getting heated. Getting all mad.
I thought there was.
You're getting heated. I
thought there was going to be aliens, and I'm a little disappointed.
I mean, aliens are always a valid option.
How do we know it's just not a very creative serial killer? Have we explored that route?
We did. I said that the one professor thought that one lady was murdered. Like, they said that professor thinks that lady, they cut her, like, torso off, took it to a crematorium, burned it in a crematorium, brought it back to the scene, took, like, they said, like, some sort of heated lamp or something like that, something that can, like, basically a blowtorch, burned her...
What I don't understand is...
clothing and legs.
It takes so damn long for a body to burn into ash.
And it requires a super, super hot fire.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the expert on burning bodies, so...
What? When? Since when?
So, don't ask questions. So, why were there just nobody else around during this time?
Couldn't tell you.
It just seems...
This is why it's an unsolved mystery, Kylie.
The whole thing just seems fake.
It does. Yeah. I mean, spontaneous human combustion is not plausible, but what actually happened, they don't really know.
What about spontaneous combustion of not humans?
That's real. Because there's certain chemicals and properties of elements that can spontaneously combust. Or, well, they combust, it's not like spontaneously, like out of nowhere, but it's like some of them, once they contact oxygen, they combust.
RKO.
When I'm saying that some things can spontaneously combust...
They still need an outside source.
They still need something... They still need to interact with something else. But for them, it's like out of like...
Yeah, but...
instant versus spontaneous.
Are we as a mediator introducing that reaction?
So are you saying like when those...
So if I got a bowl full of chemicals and I know if I pour water into it, the whole fucking thing explodes. Is that in most cases how these combustions happen?
The non-human ones?
Yes.
Kind of, or it's like an accident.
We are the mediator toward that combustion.
I'm not sure. I didn't look up a lot about regular spontaneous combustion. I really focused on humans.
Oh, well,
because it's a little more.
You missed a whole genre of combustion then.
Yeah, I did.
Well, that's disappointing. No aliens and no regular combustion.
I mean, if you want to look up your own spontaneous combustion.
I don't care enough.
I see how it is.
See, I do this not out of convenience for me. It's because I don't have to look up anything. And it's a grand old time.
But you have that conspiracy theory.
Yeah, no, it's not a conspiracy theory.
It is a conspiracy theory.
It is not a conspiracy.
Wikipedia calls it a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, Wikipedia can fuck off. It's true.
I mean, the whole idea of a conspiracy theories don't mean that they're fake.
Conspiracy theories mean that the presented information is inaccurate.
No, kind of. A conspiracy theory basically means that the government is lying to you. Or it's a cover-up.
Not in all instances.
That's it's some sort of authoritative governing body is hiding something, lying, changing things.
Dude, I would just say that the common knowledge of things, for instance, flat earthers, that's a conspiracy theory. What is the government covering up that? No, it's just this widely held belief is being challenged. Now, I could be wrong on that definition, but I would say
look it up.
A conspiracy theory is going against a widely held belief. And in some instances, that conspiracy theory could end up being true. For instance, having a flat earth.
Okay, conspiracy theory definition. A belief that some covert but influential organization is responsible for a circumstance or event. So by that definition, flat earthers aren't, well, I guess no, because it would be science. Like, NASA would be the influential organization saying, like, no, the Earth's round.
That is true. I'll believe anything NASA says.
You slept for NASA?
I'd put out for a good NASA.
Okay, do you have anything else to add?
Oh, so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Static.
All right, so here's the static.
Yeah, it just makes so much sense. Electricity is weird. People are weird. Boom.
Weird plus weird equals spontaneous human combustion. Yeah?
No, just weird.
Okay. Well, on that note.
What note was that?
I don't know. A weird note?
Probably like an E flat. Is that even a note?
That's a note.
Nice.
Wait.
Nailed it.
Yeah. So, go follow on Instagram. Instagram is at HMCT Podcast. Twitter is at Podcast HMCT. You can email at hmctpodcast@gmail.com, or just go to our website where there's show notes and other bonus content, historiesmysteriesconspiracies.com. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so be your weird self.
Bye.
Sounded painful for you.